Welcome to On the Chain.
XRP lawsuit. Defense lawyer believes judge in Ripple case will soon deliver one big written ruling. And that is none other than James the Jimmy Filan.
All right. I like that. One big written ruling.
Look at that. Look at how it just fills the screen. Doesn't it look awesome? Isn't it just beautiful?
That's
that a big
good.
XRP?
You know what? I like that, the font. That's going to be our next thumbnail.
XRP, baby. Just XRP. That's it. Just rip it right off. Why not? So according to defense lawyer Jimmy Filan, a summary judgment in the SEC Ripple lawsuit might come sooner than expected. And this is good when you get like professional opinion from, either Jimmy Filan, Jeremy Hogan, or of course, John Deaton. But this week, the former federal prosecutor noted, and I like how they do that because also, former federal prosecutor Jimmy Filan, which he has some pretty extensive background, and so does John Deaton as far as federal prosecution, and noted that the judge was likely to consolidate most of the pending issues for determination into one ruling, and the court has to decide on three major issues before issuing that final verdict. But we're getting close, Jeff.
We're so close.
Isn't it? Like, we feel good. Like we're after
2 years
all
in.
this. 2 years.
All this 2 years in, and we're so close. And we are actually going to prepare a special on the chain XRP lawsuit, or I should say, sorry, SEC v Ripple lawsuit. We're going to do kind of like an anniversary show. We did that last year with John Deaton, and we had some other surprise guests that came on, like Jeremy Hogan and others, and we're going to plan another big event like that.
Another big event, yes, we will. I want to lean on my armchair, and it's like when you slip off, you look like you look like some kind of a moron doing that stuff. But the summary judgment motions, the expert motion challenges, and the sealing issues regarding the expert reports, the Hinman and other records presented by the SEC. And so this was Jim Filan said this. He said, why would Judge Torres slog through the expert motions and the sealing motions, and this includes the sealing of the Hinman documents, separately before deciding which parts, if any, are relevant to deciding the summary judgment motion? Asked Filan. And he says, I believe that she will decide everything together. It won't be until she rules in the motions for summary judgment, and it will probably be one big written ruling. And then he referenced the case involving Goldman Sachs, where Judge Torres addressed the same issues in one ruling. So there's the words we want to see. And the lawsuit nears end as parties file their final submission. So on December 2nd, which was Friday, both parties, they filed redacted replies to each other's opposition motions for summary judgment. According to Ripple's motion, the SEC opposition brief confirmed the defendant's motion for summary judgment should be granted. Yes, it should.
The SEC wants more time.
The SEC is out of their mind, Jeff. I mean, SEC cannot show that any offer or sale of XRP, much less everyone from 2013 to 2020, as it alleges and bears the burden to demonstrate, was an offer of sale or an investment contract, and therefore security under the federal securities law. Ripple, which sued alongside Bradley Garlinghouse, I guess I'm missing in the S there, and Chris Larson argued.
Garlinghouse.
So they said, this is our final submission where we ask the court to grant judgment in our favor. Of course, that's the British spelling of favor there. Always played it straight with the court. We can't say the same for our adversary, he wrote. The sentiments were supported by Ripple's Brand Garlinghouse. Man, there's all kinds of typos in here. We have Brad Garlinghouse and then Brand Garlinghouse.
What's going on with Brand?
I don't know. Yeah, and then Brad, remember we read that tweet where he congratulated the defense team for the efforts. Ripple stood strong, withstood the SEC's onslaught. I look forward to being on the right side of justice. And Jeff, I think you and I are looking forward to being on the right side of justice too, because how sweet that would be that you and I called it.
Really good stuff. And as we get closer to this thing, I'm looking back 2 years, the SEC dropping all sorts of balls because they didn't have any to begin with. And so now,
there you go.
Now here we sit, and man, good things on the horizon for the entire space.
Jimmy Filan said, Stu Alderati slaps the SEC contradictory statements about the Howey test, and Stu Alderati, who's the general counsel over Ripple, said, follow the bouncing regulator. And this, look at this. So here's two contradictory statements. So the first one is from the SEC on April 22nd of 2021. They said, Howey provides a clearly expressed test for determining what constitutes an investment contract. Fast forward to December 2nd of 2022, they said Hinman's speech provided 13 expressly non-exhaustive factors that market participants could consider. The SEC is just lost the plot big time, Jeff. I mean, completely gone. Follow the bouncing regulator. And it's so funny how he calls them the bouncing. It's all over the place, the regulator. The enforcement arm of the SEC.
It's so outlandish. You know, right when you think it couldn't get more outlandish, it gets more outlandish. It's like one thing after another. You know, from the fact of how the SEC is, completely unfair in this case. But it's not just SEC v. Ripple though. It's a problem. It's a systemic problem within the SEC. But Ripple is, they're the 1,000-pound gorilla. They're the ones that they're after. They take down. Or they think, they're either slowing down or they're trying to take down. They're just trying to cause uncertainty in the marketplace, and that there's all sorts of problem written all over that. Even if they're trying to delay things and they're appeasing their friends in the, bigger, higher places, or if the government just got caught with their pants down, trying to play catch up at this point. When you look at that, there's not a lot of real coincidences out there, And so if you have this going on and at the same time you have the FTX drama going on, and then maybe you weave in some interconnection between what's going on with FTX and some of the politicians, and none of it, it just doesn't pass the smell test.
And then you had Feed Lab say, is there such a thing as XRP2? And he was basically highlighting this. I don't know what this is from, but it says effective AML program, XRP2 and the Ripple Trade MSB will implement, maintain, or continue to maintain an effective anti-money laundering AML program, risk assessment, other compliance measures as required by applicable law, including the Bank Secrecy Act and its implementing regulations. And then, of course, David Schwartz here. It's David Katz, Joel Schwartz, right? I mean, it's all mixed up here. He basically said that XRP2 is the name of a legal entity owned by Ripple. It's similar to the way that Apple entities licensed to do Apple Pay. So all of Apple doesn't have to be regulated that way. So that's the whole thing with that XRP2.
Yeah, exactly. And people have questioned, what exactly is XRP2? How does what's the interaction, with Ripple and everything else? And there you go. A very simple explanation. They actually have, multiple other entities out there. I thought that was pretty cool though.
Are you down with OTC? Please like, subscribe, and click the bell to be notified when the next video drops.